Good morning, cultists. Welcome to another Dessert Time with CthuLoops, and welcome to the post-mortem of our Romuvan Rampage campaign, where we will not only walk down memory lane by reminiscing about the countless lives we have sacrificed to our blood gods, but we'll also kind of discuss the various doctrines that we took for our religion, as well as kind of look at the leaders that we had. So I think the best place to start would be with our religion. The Romuvan religion, which started off in a, dinky little place here in Latgala, I think? Or rather, the religion didn't start there, but our campaign started there, rather. And it expanded to, I guess, the majority of Eastern Europe, as well as Scandinavia, and small parts of Western Europe. Within enough time, we should be able to just push that out and, have Romuva be the dominant religion through Europe and all that such. For our religion, we decided to take the warmongering what's the first one? Well, we went with warmongering, and then we took bloodthirsty gods, unrelenting, not unyielding. Unyielding is the other one. Warmongering, unrelenting, bloodthirsty gods, and temporal leadership, or was it Temporal leadership, where we installed deep-fried Japanese foods as our religious figures. Probably not the Temporal leadership. In any case, I really like the warmongering aspect of our religion. I don't think it really made our leaders any more aggressive than they normally are, because I know at one point I looked at the Lost Holy Wars, and I think it was at like whopping -20 or -30. Meaning that my vassals somewhere along the line decided to wage holy wars that they then lost. Which is a little crazy, but it didn't seem like my vassals were that much more aggressive than other pagan campaigns. Though I guess we had some issues where, I don't know if you recall, but the issue of Germany taking over large swaths of Austrasia and also Burgundy, and me having to spend a couple of episodes dealing with that stuff. That was a little annoying, but I've seen that kind of behavior in previous campaigns as well, so I wouldn't say that's completely out of the norm. So I don't know. I don't know how much more aggressive the AI is in comparison to, say, a pagan religion that doesn't have warmongering, or whatever. I think if we went with peaceful, I think we would have seen a lot bigger difference than what we have here. But I think with peaceful, you're also disallowed from doing great holy wars, which would have really drastically slowed down our campaign progress. So I really liked warmongering, but I think my favorite part of warmongering was the fact that I was able to raise a crap ton of boats and just keep them around. And I mean, we could have done the same thing with the vassal troops, but if you have vassal troops raised, you can't declare wars, whereas you can declare wars when you have vassal fleets and your domain fleets raised and all that such. So I really like warmongering, and I wouldn't mind playing that again in the future, but I also wouldn't mind checking other stuff out too. But one thing about some of the doctrines that really confused me is the whole resistance to proselytizing. I don't understand that aspect. I feel like it would only be useful if the religion in question was being led by an AI, because I think when you're on the receiving end of being proselytized, you get an option. I'm pretty sure I've had like rulers as a small pagan, unreformed pagan in the past, where rulers would say, hey, join our Catholicism or join our Orthodoxy, etc., and we won't blast you in the ass. And I'm pretty sure that's the receiving end of proselytization, though I could be wrong. I kind of wish that the tooltips were a bit more, I guess, detailed in what exactly those effects are. But, yeah, we may have to rely on the wiki to really get the nitty-gritty of the of the various doctrines, etc., etc. So yeah, that's kind of something that confused me about the other doctrines. And one thing that I learned that I had no idea was a thing was the whole Defenders of Dievas thing. I know I was really confused when I was unable to do eldership succession once we reformed. It turns out that the various pagan religions kind of come with like a default doctrine that they are quote-unquote ideally supposed to have, and I think Defenders of Dievas was one of them. And by me taking something that was not Defenders of Dievas, I you know, got rid of that option or that ability to go with those with that succession law, with the eldership succession law. What I kind of wish was made more clear was the fact that that was a thing, because I thought the whole eldership succession law was just embedded in being part of Romuvan from the very get-go, and regardless of whether or not I decided to keep Defenders of Dievas, I would, you know, keep that option. But no, lesson learned, and it's something that we can either use, exploit, or not exploit, but use to our benefit in the future, or I guess not use in the future. But we'll see. We'll see. I just, you know, again, wish that the tooltips were made a little bit more, I guess, clear. In any case, with Bloodthirsty Gods, I think it was a bit of a mixed bag. I'm really happy that that my you know, fellow Romuvans aren't upset at the fact that I am a Hemophant, I think, right? Yeah, sorry, a Hemoarch, because it says Feudal Vassal Opinion -15, but none of my fellow Romuvans have that, despite the fact that they're feudal, right? But I guess I never really checked with the other feudal dudes. No murderer, infidel, no. So I'm not quite sure how exactly that comes into play, because this guy's feudal for sure. He doesn't like that I'm zealous, that I'm an infidel, and that I'm a known murderer. But besides that, there's no issue with me being a Hemoarch. So I'm not sure. I don't quite know how that really comes into play. Maybe it's my own vassals? But no, that wouldn't make sense, because I'm looking at my own vassals here, and it doesn't say that there. What about city dudes? Are you upset that I'm a Hemoarch? No. No, not at all. So, yeah, I have no idea how that works. It just seems to not come into effect at all. So that's interesting. But I definitely do remember seeing the tribal opinion +15 for sure. So I'm a little confused about that. And I say that Bloodthirsty Gods is a bit of a mixed bag, because on the plus side, it's, I think, a decent way to accrue enough piety and prestige in the early parts of the game when you become a when you have the bloodline, when you have the Soul Flayer's bloodline, because when you have that, you get the prestige and piety for every you know, heathen that you sacrifice to our blood gods. So if you're really struggling to get piety, enough piety to declare a holy war, for example, then sacrificing a whole bunch of heathens in your dungeons, good way to get that piety to declare the holy war, which I guess isn't a huge selling point once you're you know, well established as a realm. But yeah, I mean, flavor-wise, I liked it. Flavor-wise, I definitely liked it. The blood games, the mass sacrifices, pretty cool, but I think its usefulness kind of tapers off rather quickly once you do adopt feudalism and you establish yourself as a mid-sized to large-sized realm. When you're smaller, in your feudal, it could still be useful, but yeah. The other plus thing is the fact that I got to empty up my dungeons very quickly. I say very quickly, but I kind of needed to, you know, click on the sacrifice button manually for every single one of them, which I found to be kind of meditative. In between episodes, I would often just load up a video on my other monitor and then just, you know, listen and watch whilst I'm sacrificing hundreds upon hundreds of heathens, which is how we accrued the crazy kill list. 553 kills. That is crazy. That is crazy, and that the vast majority of them are from the various prisoners that we've sacrificed to our blood gods. So yeah, it's definitely interesting, and not some. But that being said, though, I don't think it's something that I would readily take again in the future, because, like I said, the usefulness kind of tapers off very quickly. I think one thing that would have been very helpful for us would have been the Seaworthy. Was it Seaworthy? I forget what the actual doctrine is, but it's the one where you're allowed to navigate through the major rivers and such, much like what the Germanic religion has. I think that would have been very useful, because for me to get from, you know, the from this county to that county via boat, I'd have to go across the entirety of Europe. Whereas if I had that, the Seaworthy doctrine, I could have just taken this major river, and that would have made things a lot faster. Although the whole being able to take the major river things becomes a little less useful as time goes on, because you are actually unable to, unless it's your own territory, you're unable to pass through counties that have a certain level of of a castle or a fort level. Once it gets to a certain fort level and above, you are unable to traverse through the major rivers there. So it becomes a little less useful as time goes on, but if you're traveling, you know, through your own lands, that won't be a problem at all, and that's pretty darn useful. So that could have been something that we could have gone for instead of Bloodthirsty. But yeah, and in terms of unyielding, I was mistaken on the whole does not take defensive attrition thing, because apparently what the whole does not take defensive attrition thing is pagan attrition. So armies ignore defensive attrition. That sounds great on paper, but all it does is it prevents you from taking pagan attrition, which isn't a problem when you're an unreformed pagan. But I guess, you know, if we're talking about reformation, as soon as you get to military organization level 4, which doesn't take that long, that becomes redundant, and you don't take pagan homeland attrition anyways. So I was a little mistaken, I don't know. And the whole armies have better offensive capabilities. What does that mean? Like, like going back to the whole tooltips being more useful or being not as useful, like, what does it mean when they say armies have increased offensive capabilities? Doesn't say anywhere. I guess maybe it could be used in the fighting stage. Perhaps there's different strategies that they employ, because the fighting system is deeper than it first seems, and there's like different strategies that your commander's involved, and that's a lot of the times that changes depending on what military traits they have and their military score and whatnot. So I don't know. Maybe there were some there were some strategies that they employed that really helped us out in various wars, but again, better tooltips would have made, I think, taking the doctrines an easier choice, as it were. But I honestly, thinking about it now, I don't know what we could have taken instead of unrelenting. Maybe one of the succession law stuff, like meritocracy, so that I can pick my heir, or something like that, I guess. But yeah, though I will admit that some of the doctrines really don't speak to me at all, like syncreticism, where you can use an intrigue option or whatever to get a leader to develop sympathy for your religion and whatnot. Doesn't seem that useful, because sympathy for religion only basically increases their opinion of people who possess that religion by a small amount. So if we look at, for example, sympathy for pagan religions, religious same trait opinion +5. It's not that big. at all. Like, she doesn't even have that. State diplomacy, Pictish skull, Polish skull, skull, both humble. Yeah, no, it's not super useful. I don't know if it's because I'm not considered unreformed pagan or what, but yeah, I'm not quite sure. So there's definitely some doctrines that I don't think I will probably ever take in any campaign, except for maybe roleplay reasons, and just to, you know, check off the list of doctrines to try out, I guess. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe they'll change things up in the future. But yeah, and I think that's... And temporal leadership, I really liked. Being able to decide where to do Great Holy Wars is a huge benefit for sure. For sure, because otherwise you have to rely on the AI not being a complete and utter tool, which 9 times out of 10 it kind of is. I think the Pope has definitely lessened his raging boner for declaring a crusade for parts of India, but from what I've seen, it still happens. So I don't know. Having control over the Great Holy Wars is definitely an amazing, amazing ability. But one thing I noticed about being the leader of the religion is that I am unable to... Oh, I guess the legends are started again. Cool. Great. What was it? So, one thing I noticed about being temporal is that you can't join a secret religion or a secret cult, or you can't secretly convert to another religion, etc., etc., if you're the head of the religion, which I guess makes sense. I'm assuming it's the same thing for the Pope, though, I don't know, I've seen some funky stuff happen with the Pope and the ecumenical patriarch in the past, so who knows, maybe they might bug out. But yeah, that's definitely a thing that you have to keep in mind if you want to join a secret religion, or if you want to what was it, do a pagan flip where you go from one pagan religion to the next, etc., etc. I think being temporal, having the temporal religion thing will definitely get in the way of that. I could get rid of that by potentially granting my heir. Oh, I can't. I thought I could. I see? Huh. Maybe it's because he's not my... Oh, yeah, so you can give away that, the Romuvan congregation, which is the religious title. So I think that might be one way of doing it if you really want to a culture flip and you really want temporal leadership. I guess it's possible, but that's definitely something to keep in mind. I would like to try the different, the other the heads of religion thing, though. I think those are definitely interesting, except for, well, even with autonomous, I think that'd be pretty cool because you get to try out different branches of your religion and whatnot. But it does say that it disallows Great Holy Wars, so I don't know. Maybe in a future campaign where we don't need to rely on Great Holy Wars, perhaps I could go with autonomous and see how that works out. But yeah, all right. Well, now that we've discussed the religion and you know, which I guess was a huge part of our campaign, obviously, let's go through the rulers that we've had. So we ended with Fush the Brute, who, based on his stats, turned out to be an absolutely beast of a character for sure. 14 diplomacy, which I guess is his lowest score. 47 martial. 47 martial. Pretty amazing, for sure. For sure. And then his heir, Marios. 32 martial. And his lowest score is his stewardship, which I guess could be improved once he becomes a brilliant strategist. But yeah, I think one thing that I really liked was the Blood of Attila. Not because of the Bulgar and Bulgarian opinion or the horse archers morale, etc., etc., but the children being able to prove themselves as mercenaries, the fact that the adventurer trait sticks with you for your entire life and increases your national levy size, your martial, your personal combat skill, and same trait opinion, that is crazy. That is very strong. And it's something that I don't know, that I'd love to be able to do again in the future. I'm kind of sad that we didn't really get to merge the bloodlines as much as I would have liked. But I think that's a project for future campaigns. So yeah, we can definitely get around to doing more of that. And I'm really sad that the blood of Ragnar Lothbrok of Leather Pants died out so very quickly. What, this guy just vanished without a trace at the age of 25 without a child. Like, what happened? Was he consumed by Satan? I guess maybe? I don't understand what happened there, but would have been so cool to have merged the blood of Ragnar Lothbrok. But yeah, and Raiden can give Viking traits. That's cool. Wait, so could I become a Viking even without the culture and religion, I wonder? I guess we'll never know. I guess maybe we'll find out in the future, but yeah. So we learned about merging bloodlines using the whole matrilineal marriages and whatnot to get that done, which is pretty darn cool. And I suppose if I had landed my vassals or landed my dynasty members, we would have seen these numbers swell up like crazy. But the fact that I had a crap ton of children as Yaroon was pretty much what boosted those numbers out. But yeah, that's Fush, who also acquired the Necronomicon. First thing that's the first time I ever acquired the Necronomicon. I've done the whole fighting Cthulhu thing before, but I've never acquired the Necronomicon, which is pretty cool, I gotta say. Though the -2 to the monthly piety is kind of crazy, I guess. But yeah, you know what? It's actually fairly significant even right now, because you don't get a ton of piety per month unless you've upgraded your various hospitals and your religious buildings and you have a lot of religious vassals, etc., etc. But yeah, pretty damn cool. And I really like that the different pagan religions get the Crusader trait too, or their equivalent of the Crusader trait rather. So yeah, that's Fush, who married his niece, who turned out to be an adulteress. But thankfully with her we had Marios, who without much effort was born strong and genius. And before Fush came Yaroon the Butcher, who sired many children, and due to his efforts was able to birth a strong genius son. But I don't know if it was really worth it, considering the effort that we went through. It's nice. Being strong and genius is definitely very nice. But again, considering how repetitive it was to have to bang so many lovers, I kind of wish they kept a list of the lovers that he's had. But we know that he's had he's impregnated so many women and had so many children. This isn't even the entire list of children that he's had. No, a lot of them are just like just bastardized and whatnot. And before Yaroon, who actually has the highest number of kills of well, any character in the entire world, in this universe in any case, 553. Just crazy. Though it is interesting that the fact that these guys died in their dungeons also counts towards their kills, which I guess kind of inflated his numbers a little bit. But yeah, it would be cool to see to be able to sort or group by the ways that they died. Like, I'd like to see how many people that he's killed in a duel, for example, as opposed to having people died in his dungeons, etc., etc. But yeah, I think so. Yaroon has the highest number of kills, followed by Fush at 499, and then Vanthus with 348. Pluten was, I think, our second ruler, right? Yeah. And Pluten had 312. Miwino had a little bit less than that, and understandably, our first ruler, Pukuveras, had the least number of kills in our great dynasty. But that's because he started out really small, and he didn't have a lot of, you know, people to sacrifice and whatnot. And I think also, I guess they were sacrificed to the gods. But considering that he was old Romuvan, he didn't have access to the bloodthirsty god stuff, so yeah, I guess despite that, he was able to kill a whole bunch of people, which is pretty fantastic. But anyways, back to our lineage. So before Yurun was Vanthus, the Sword of Dievas, who accomplished a fair bit too. I actually kind of don't really remember who took what. I do remember Yurun having a lot of children, and then Vanthus being quite the accomplished military leader, what with his, yeah, 3 traits. I think that's the most number of military traits. Maybe I lie. But 3, I think, maybe the most number of traits I've seen for military traits for a character, which is pretty cool. And when did the whole Divine Blood thing start? Oh, I guess it kind of ended with Yurun. But yeah. I like how the Lover's Pox became our signature, well, we banged you kind of thing. Or at least, we're related by, what's the term? There's a term for, was it penis brothers? Where you bang the same person or something? I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, but before Vanthus was Miwino. And I like that a lot of our characters were all brawny. Well, not all of them, but a lot of our characters were brawny, and that was, I think, due to the fact that being part of the Band of Medina and also leading troops, you get the option to move the rock or whatever. So that was absolutely fantastic. And I'm really sad that we didn't get to do more legendary outings. The bug, I think, kind of more or less fixed itself near the very end of our campaign. But hopefully in future campaigns, well, with this bug having been fixed now, we should be able to do more legendary stuff and see what other legendary bloodlines we can forge. I'm assuming that we can get more legendary bloodlines, despite the fact that we already have one. But I could be wrong. And I think in the future, maybe instead of going for the Hemoarch stuff, which is wildly, maybe not wildly, but somewhat useless, perhaps we can do a custom forged bloodline and see how that works out. There's a lot of stuff in Holy Fury that I still really want to check out, such as the different custom bloodlines and whatnot. So before Vanthus was Miwino, who had the fewest number of kills for... That's not true though, is it? Because Pukuveras had the fewest number of kills, but he had the Miwino had the fewest number of kills for someone who had the bloodthirsty gods. So yeah, but being duelist was awesome, and I think, yeah, I think Miwino may have been our first feudal leader. Yes, that's true. With Miwino came feudalism. Which, I guess the transition was not that bad. It could have been a lot worse for sure, but I think the fact that I had the tribal retinue set up really helped a lot. Because in the past, you used to be able to use the... No, wait, I guess once you turned feudal, you would lose access to the event spawn troops for tribal leaders. But yeah, I think the fact that you retain the tribal retinue really comes in handy when you're switching from tribal to feudal, and hopefully that's something that we can use in the future as well. But yeah, so before Miwino, who adopted feudalism, came Pluten. Pluten being our second leader, the son of Pukuveras, and the tribal kinslayer. I forget who he killed. Oh, right. We discovered that we can easily secure successions by dueling our own children and murdering them in the field of combat. Another easy way to secure succession. Until you have ultimate geniture and stuff. But of course, being a kinslayer has its drawbacks for sure. I think being a tribal kinslayer was not that bad, but I think being a normal kinslayer, I forget what the exact things are, but let me look that up now. Kinslayer. So, assuming that you killed your direct kin, as opposed to like a weaker kinslayer thing, reduces your diplomacy by 5. That's pretty crazy. And of course, your diplomacy score determines or boosts up your vassal limit, and then also reduces your general opinion by 10 too, which is pretty bad. Really bad. That's akin to being a known murderer, but you know, if you're immortal, then known murder does go away. But it'd be interesting to see if you can be pardoned for being a kinslayer by what's it, pagan religious leaders or religious heads. Because I know with the Catholics, if you're a kinslayer, sometimes the Pope will forgive you and absolve you of all that crap, and you can get rid of it that way. But it'd be interesting to see if that's possible for pagans as well. And of course, before Huten, the child killer, the sexy child killer who ended up becoming celibate and a drunkard, was Pukuveras, the very first of our bloodline, who looked like a tree with a human face stapled onto it, much like it kind of reminded me of Dwight K. Schrute wearing the mask of the first aid training dummy from the hit TV show The Office. So maybe a tree, maybe an ant, killed a human being and then ripped his face off and wore it as like some sort of like mask or whatever. But yeah, when his whole hair was brown, it looked a lot more tree-ish. But yeah, that was pretty cool. It's, I guess, difficult to really see what else there. You know what? I think we're good there. I don't know if there's much more else to really explore with this. The fact that we have 110,000 troops available to us is pretty darn crazy. Pretty darn crazy. I forget what the Mongols come with. And I'm kind of sad that we didn't get to invade China in this campaign. But, I mean, we've already invaded and won against China, what, several times now? Or at least a couple times, I know for sure. So, oh well. Been there, done that, I guess. And of course, our Romuvan religion is... Whoa, I guess everything... nothing else is at 100%. Holy crap. We really did a number on the rest of the world here. Very nice. Can't believe that Catharism and all these guys... All the Catholic heresies are at like 20%. That's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. And Catholicism is down to 36%. With Shiaism being the second place. But by a large margin. So, yeah. That's pretty crazy. Alright, well, I think that's going to be it for our post-mortem. I apologize that it went a little bit longer than it normally would, or normally did in the past, but, well, with the whole Holy Fury pagan reformation stuff, I think it's probably gonna go this way in the future, unless we play as a non-pagan, where we don't get to reform our religion, but I don't think we're gonna be doing that for a long while now, unless maybe I play as a Muslim nation. Because I haven't played as a Muslim nation in quite a while. I think the last time I played was actually Ballad of the Gothic Muslim, which is pretty damn fun, I gotta say. But I do understand a lot of people saying that the Muslim religions are fairly overpowered, what with you not needing to worry about inheritance to begin with, what with it being an open succession. So you just give land to whoever you want to inherit your titles, and that's it. They get to, you know, inherit everything. But yeah, again, I wouldn't mind playing as a Muslim religion in the future. I think it's probably going to be a little while before we return to playing as a Catholic nation. There's nothing that Catholicism or Orthodoxy that really interests me. But yeah, You'll have to wait and see what I'll play in the future. I'm not really gonna announce anything. I like to keep you guys in suspense, for better or for worse. But yeah, that's gonna be it for our post-mortem. Hope you guys enjoyed, and let me know what you guys think. Let me know. I'm always open to suggestions, and if you guys want to see a certain type of playthrough, please let me know. Like, I'm not going to dismiss any of them. If you have an idea, then I'll keep that in the back burner, and that'll be a future option. So don't be afraid to leave a comment making suggestions of that kind. I'm very happy to hear your ideas, and I think I've received a few suggestions thus far that I definitely want to try in the future. So I apologize if it's not the next one, or the next one, or the one after that, etc., etc. But keep in mind, I do plan to eventually run through the entire gamut of well, most things, or most of what's possible in vanilla CK2. So yeah, that's gonna be it, and I guess I'll see you guys in the next campaign, which I hope you're going to join me for. But if not, maybe I'll see you in future campaigns and other CK2 stuff. But I guess this isn't really the last episode, but I like to mention this. If you like the postmortem, then be sure to leave a like and leave a comment if you have suggestions, or if you want to provide feedback, or have other ideas, etc., etc. And let me know if you enjoyed the campaign and such. And be sure to subscribe if you're, not already. I'll hopefully see you guys in the next campaign, and we'll go from there. So for now, thank you for watching, and have an amazing breakfast and dessert.